Are you good to go, Mike?
Yes,
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody who's watching at home and also who's participating in this virtual special cabinet meeting today. My name is Councillor Kevin Guy and I'm the leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council. I've got a short but brief statement that I need to make before we actually move on to proceedings. Due to the ongoing COVID situation and the desire to retain a level of social distancing at council meetings at this time, we are holding this informal virtual cabinet meeting to enable cabinet, councillors and members of the public to take part. This virtual meeting will be conducted in the normal manner, but any decisions made will not be legally enforceable. They will be formally made at the physically reduced quorum decision-making meeting tomorrow on the 27th of January 2022. We will review this approach at any future cabinet meetings in line with government and health and safety guidance at the time. And I welcome all the speakers and councillors today that are going to talk on the particular topic that we've got on the minutes today. I will also remind people that they're welcome to come along on the 10th of February to talk about any issues or concerns they may have and raise that with ourselves at the council and the cabinet. And we look forward to seeing members of the public on the 10th of February. Okay, I'm going to ask people to go around the room and introduce people. Can I ask Councillor Samuel to introduce himself, please?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Richard Samuel. I represent Walcott Ward and I am the Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Resources.
Thank you, Richard. Councillor Warren, please.
Hello, Councillor Sarah Warren, representing Bath Avon North Ward and Cabinet Lead for Climate Emergency and Sustainable Transport.
Thank you, Sarah. Councillor Romero.
Good evening, I'm Dina Romero and I'm one of the councillors for Southdown Ward and I'm the Cabinet Member for Children, Young People, Communities and Culture.
Thank you, Dina. Councillor Wood.
David Wood, Councillor for Mendip Ward, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood Services.
Thank you, David. Councillor Rigby.
Hello everyone, Councillor Amanda Rigby. I am a councillor in Batwick Ward and I'm the Cabinet Member for Transport.
Thank you, Amanda. Councillor Ball.
Councillor Tim Ball, Cabinet Member for Licensing and Planning.
Thank you, Tim. And Councillor Bourne.
Evening, I'm Councillor Alison Bourne. I'm a ward member for Widcombe and Lincoln Ward, and I'm the Cabinet Lead for Adult Social Care and Job Share, which is housing, which is a job share with Tom Davis.
Thank you very much, Alison. And apologies for this evening's meeting. It's Councillor Tom Davis. That's correct, Maria? Yes.
Yes, it's apologies from Councillor Tom Davis, yes.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Noted. Declarations of interest. I believe there are none declared. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of any declarations, Chair.
Thank you very much. And business agreed by the Chair. There are none. So we'll move on to statements. So I will just inform people that the speakers that have listed themselves to speak this evening are to stick to the topic of this special cabinet meeting, which is obviously the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement paper. And I will ask Mr. David Redgewell to speak first, please.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I'll certainly stick to topic. The issue of the City Regional Transport Plan, I fully support, obviously with West Region Combined Authority, working with the Mayor and yourself. I just hope on Friday we get it through, Kevin, without any long breaks or long adjournments, and it sells through both the WECA committee and the joint committee afterwards within the bits with North Somerset. The points I want to make is obviously I very much support the corridor down to Peasdown, St John, Radstock and Midsummer Norton, and the corridor that goes obviously for buses down to Shepton, Mallet and Wells, and obviously the corridor from street that comes along the A37 bus corridor into Bristol via the villages and Pensford and Clutton and through Whitchurch and Hengrove. And I had a good meeting yesterday with the WECA officers looking at this for 2 hours, looking at each individual bus stops. I think something Sarah set up for me with the Mayor. And it was very useful. We talked about the bus stops. We talked about design, the interchanges with bikes. We talked about interchanges with DRT for the Chew Valley, so we can obviously get off 376 and go into the Chew Valley. We talked about the issues around the park and ride. And there's some big money to save for the mayor. If we were to get the service buses running into Odd Down and Brislington Park and Rides, those contracts are £700,000 each plus. So that's 1,400,000 that could be saved by making those adjustments to allow the service buses to run through, something I've talked to Sarah about, and I think Dan supports, but we need to move forward with Marvin on that as well. I am very concerned at the interchanges. I've made my points quite clear on the temporary interchange at Grand Parade and also at Cherry Gardens, the link between Bristol and Bath. I don't think that's a safe interchange. I know your officers have made that point to WECA as well as ourselves. And the mass transit. But we're through Brislington and through Keynsham and Salford and into Bath, whether that's glider bus in future, whether that's going to be metro bus, or how we're going to do it. The one thing I am concerned about, Baroness Veer, and I've sent Sarah the paperwork today, has reiterated again £1.4 billion only for bus service improvement plans, which is not enough money for the whole of England. And Boris Johnson at lunchtime still offered no extra money for COVID-19 bus operator recovery grant from April. And without that money, we can build all the nice infrastructure, bus lanes, bus priority cycle lanes, interchanges. But we must make sure that the revenue support's there for the bus operators. So we've really got to keep pushing the government, or the Metro Mayor and the 4 unitary authority leaders to get a settlement to keep our bus services operating and improve them on the city regions transport corridors. And I welcome the bid. I'm very concerned. I want to just flag up, I will not support a road between Hitsgate down the railway line at Brislington as any part of any mass transit. And I don't think local councillors will either. So thank you very much. Oh, and finally, can I just say, well, finally, Dina's on the call. Can we please look, Dina, at the bus tourist information centre at Bath bus station, see if we can get that reopened along with one in Bristol with First Group. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. Per normal, thank you for your constructive comments, and you'll be pleased to know that I have had a correspondent with Baroness Veer expressing very similar views to what you've just said as well. So thank you very much, and I'm glad you're talking with Sarah on these issues. And once again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, David. Right, I've got Councillor Vic Pritchard next on my list. Councillor Pritchard, are you here?
Unfortunately, he hasn't arrived on meeting yet. We're still trying to get him into the meeting.
Okay, not a problem. We'll move to Councillor Paul May.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to, in just my few minutes, make a political point and some specifics around my area. The political point is positive that WECA have brought forward the sustainable document. It presents a strategy to travel forwards, and I think that's really good for the sub-region. But as the document states in the introduction, it quite clearly covers the 3 unitary authority areas. But when you look at the details, it covers the 4 unitary authority areas. All the maps and text cover North Somerset, but as a WECA document, it should surely be exclusive in funding terms for the 3 unitary authorities. It talks about integrated transport, which is great, but separate rail, bus, cycling, walking, as opposed to cars, unless it all joins together, it won't work effectively for residents to actually want to use public transport. In relation to my area, the plan still shows reference to JLTP4, and I think that's very sad that we haven't flagged up in that document that we're thinking about the future. It still makes reference to a park and ride at Whitchurch, which would not be suitable for A37 users, road users of the A37. And I think we should actually challenge that, because I don't think that's a sensible proposal. And the proposal is to upgrade the A37. I was pleased to hear David say that. It's the main route to the south coast, so I think I can't see why it can't be a sustainable route that's looked at in terms of the future. It appears to drop the A37A4 route, which David also mentioned, but it doesn't say so effectively. So it would relieve communities in our area if Baines actually positively supported dropping that. These are small changes which I hope you can take on board. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate that. And you're in communication with Councillor Warren and Councillor Rigby on those topics, aren't you? So, yeah, and I'm more than happy to to move them forward to the WECA mayor for you as well.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got Councillor Joanna Wright next, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. Central government has recognised that the weakness of the city regions is the quality of their local transport networks and how this has a negative impact on general well-being and productivity. Taxpayers' money is going to be used to create sustainable transport infrastructure so that places are for people, not cars, where people will walk, cycle and catch a bus first. The City Regional Sustainable Transport Settlement will deliver investment in local transport networks and is set to fund bus service improvement plans, high quality cycle infrastructure and improved journeys made by cycling. This Cabinet needs to agree to a shared vision for transport. This means agreement on our key transport network and a credible plan to tackle congestion and parking. Plans must be put in place and agreed at a regional and local level to deliver effective strategic bus and cycle routes. If Bain is unable to deliver this vision, WECA should seek to take that responsibility. Government is awarding the CRSTS as it recognises that systemic change requires a visionary political leadership. Local councils for years have failed at having a transformational vision and at delivering it. A shared vision with effective leadership minimises the possible local opposition that often prevents the development of the right transport routes and infrastructure. I am calling on the Metro Mayor to create a cycling, walking and wheeling commissioner as a way to create visionary leadership. The local walking, cycling and infrastructure plan must add the agreed strategic regional cycle map. Our roads need to be safe for everyone. Public highways have been designed solely around moving cars with little thought ever going into developing the public highways for those walking and cycling. When politicians announce major funding developments, it is for big schemes, failing to notice that individuals make small journeys more often. A timeline needs to be put in place to deliver infrastructure which focuses on school streets, pedestrian and cycle crossing, cycle storage, zero tolerance for road accidents, and a speed reduction strategy. This will save lives, prevent injury and reduce carbon. Bain's approved plan for CRST focuses heavily on the delivery of livable neighbourhoods as a way to change the travel behaviour of residents. This local council has selected 15 locations, but has failed to put in place a broader circulation plan. Those selected are limited to a series of road closures. There is a requirement for a wider walking and cycling network vision across the city. This is acutely apparent on the east of Bath. One of the major failings of the CRST plan is that the east of Bath is not even mentioned or budgeted for, despite being a major contributor to the traffic problems. Closing one minor road on the east of Bath, an area that has the highest levels of air pollution in the UK, no park and ride, reduced bus services and few residents' parking zones. It does not tackle the transport problems. The CRSTS plan fails the residents on the east of Bath. The Green Party believes we must show vision and deliverability for transport and for this process to support all residents equally. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Okay, I believe Councillor Pritchard may have been able to join us via the phone. Is that you here, Vic?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. You've got your 3 minutes.
Right. What I want to talk about is the Chew Valley. Now, Sarah Warren has had several meetings with a group, a climate action group from the Chew Valley, certainly about transport issues. And what they're looking for is a shuttle bus service that goes around the valley and joins with the two arterial routes, the A37 and the A38. Now, we have scant service in the Chew Valley, and I noticed that on this proposal now, the Chew Valley is not even mentioned. Now, these meetings that Sarah Warren's been having with Jackie, I've lost her name for a moment, the lead individual that's operating in the Chew Valley on the behalf of the Chew Valley residents. Jackie Head, thank you. Right, now, those meetings, Jackie comes away from those meetings with a real enthusiasm from the meetings that she's had with you. and she believes in you, and thinking that certainly that the Chew is going to be wholly represented, but it's absolutely not included at all in these proposals there. It's obvious by its absence, if you like. Now, this is the opportunity, and Jackie is really relying on this WECA funding, what it's coming from government, to be a major contributor, and we're finally going to get some consideration in the Chew Valley, yet you choose not to include it at all. So can I be assured that there's going to be a contribution in this instance, and you will put that in your application to WECA?
That's a specific question, Councillor. Have you finished your 3 minutes?
Yeah, because I have nothing else to say if I don't get the right answer.
I'm sure you'll take that away, Councillor Warren.
Well, I'm just looking for the name of it, but within the City Region Sustainable Transport, there is funding for rural connectivity trials, which fits exactly the bill you're describing, Councillor Pritchard. So hopefully you'll go away pleased.
Well, it fits the bill, you say, but something I'd like, after the representations that have been made directly to you and seemingly well received by you, I would expect it to be absolutely categoric within the application that you're making, so that individuals can be more reassured and that it's there, it's categoric, not in a scant rural provision that can go anywhere, could go to Timsbury, Poulton, anywhere in there, not into Chew Valley. Chew Valley, everywhere else is mentioned. The main deficit is any provision at all for the Chew Valley. We have one bus that goes to Bath, one bus, and that's on Wednesday. Allows people to stay in this city. I'm speaking from Bath now, stay in Bath for 2 hours. If they miss the connection to return home, they're in Bath for a week. It's ridiculous. And you know, you're the capital of the authority here in Bath, and it's surely a provision to enable the residents to go there. And it's a major contribution to climate change. If you're going to get people to go into buses and bus travels, there is no other alternative for the Chew Valley residents. They have to use their motor cars.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Pritchard. You've made your point quite passionately there. Thank you, Councillor Warren. I'm sure we'll take your points on board and get back to you on that one. Thank you, Councillor Pritchard.
So I can expect a written answer to this, can I?
This is not a question session; it's just a statement.
Yeah,
Michael, I want reassurance for the residents, a considerable number of people in the Chew Valley. I want reassurance that this has been taken into account, not fobbed off and get some moaning councillor from the Chew Valley off the list and carry on. I want a categoric answer. I want a written answer so that I can go to Jackie Head and I can go to the parishes and say, this administration's really taking this into board.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. We will take on board your statement, and this is time for you to make a statement. You've made your statement, and we appreciate that. You've made it passionately. Councillor Warren has listened, and we will get back to you. We do have business to get on with now, so thank you very much for your time, Councillor Pritchard. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to is Councillor Robin Moss arrived safely yet or not? I know he has indicated that he may not be able to make it this evening. I don't think he's here. Is he not here yet? No?
No, you can't.
Okay, right, splendid. We will then move on to the actual main body, which is the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement. And I ask Councillor Warren to introduce the paper, please.
Sure. Thank you. So good evening. I'm very pleased to be presenting this paper on the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement that we hope will be approved by WECA, the West of England Combined Authority, on Friday, and that will begin to rectify many decades of underinvestment in this region's sustainable transport infrastructure as compared to other city regions. WECA has been awarded a historic settlement of £540 million over 5 years, more per capita than other city regions, to progress an ambitious capital programme that will support a significant reduction in carbon emissions from transport in line with the region's climate emergency declarations. The final allocation to schemes in the Bath and North East Somerset area is proposed to be £129 million over the 5 years, which is matched by a £17 million local contribution. The bid's key focuses on safe, segregated infrastructure for active travel, by which I mean cycling and walking, and continuous segregated priority lanes for buses, will reduce journey times and increase the attractiveness of alternatives over the car. They will also support our public health objectives by increasing physical activity and bringing down air pollution. And they will reduce congestion, which blights our region and is forecast to increase without action of this sort, costing a huge and increasing amount in time and money. This scheme will connect households with employment and education and deliver high quality interconnected alternatives to the car. In Bath and North East Somerset, our approach will revolve around the creation of multimodal transport interchanges and segregated fast bus routes along the trunk corridors, and they will be served by safe walking and cycling routes into those interchanges from our more rural communities. Where those distances are too long for walking and cycling, such as in the Chew Valley, this plan includes the provision of infrastructure for sustainable modes. So we'll be looking to try out more innovative schemes using the rural funding. The important elements of the scheme for Bath and North East Somerset include improvements to the A4 corridor, as we discussed at last month's Cabinet meeting, and incorporating a new sustainable transport hub at Hicksgate, which will replace Brislington Park and Ride. We'll be seeing improvements to Bath bus station, improvements to sustainable transport infrastructure along the A37 and to the A37 and the A367 corridors, connecting the Somer Valley to Bristol and Bath. Improvements to cycling and walking infrastructure and provision of secure dry cycle parking in and around Bath, Midsummer Norton and Keynsham. Additional funding to extend our Livable Neighbourhoods programme, as Councillor Wright suggested, which aims to create residential areas that are healthier and nicer to spend time in on foot beyond the 15 projects that we currently have timetabled. There'll also be a common West of England branding to bus services and real-time travel information, and there'll be simpler and integrated bus ticketing to make it more straightforward to choose the right bus ticket, cheaper to make connecting journeys by bus, and making buses quicker to board. I'm very pleased to see that WECA recognises the importance of local ownership of and buy-in to these schemes, which will be vital for their success. Some of the larger schemes have already been out to early stages of consultation and will progress through further rounds of community engagement before implementation. I'm also pleased that all the schemes will meet the high standards of quality set by Bus Back Better for bus infrastructure and Local Transport Note 120 for cycle infrastructure, which will contribute to their acceptability to residents and in turn to their success. I support David Redwell's earlier comments that the reduction in central government funding for the bus service improvement programme is highly regrettable in the context of this generous capital investment in bus infrastructure, as is the lack of additional funds that are needed today to support our existing bus service and services. And I call upon government to rectify these problems. However, all in all, I am delighted to recommend to you this transformational programme, which will improve our district in so many ways, as well as moving us along the path towards net zero carbon emissions. I would like to thank officers for turning around a huge piece of work to prepare this bid to a very tight timeframe, as central government often demands of us these days. And I therefore move the recommendations in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Warren. First, before we move on to somebody seconding, I apologise to people who are listening who may have caught the leader of the Conservative Party using a swear word there, and I hope he wasn't directing that swear word at Councillor Warren, and we will look at that after the meeting with the legal team as well. So I apologise if you caught the leader of the Conservative Party swearing there. Councillor Amanda Rigby, I believe you're going to second them.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Chair. And firstly, can I thank Sarah, Councillor Warren and her team of officers for the absolute hours of work they've put into this to get us to this stage. It's been truly remarkable and you deserve many, many thanks for it. What I welcome most from the CRSTS is that via WECA, we've now got access to the kind of pots of money that can deliver some real change in our transport offering. On our own, and with the ongoing defunding of local government, we could do little other than tinker around the edges. As an example, each year that goes by, we spend approximately 6 million on road maintenance, when we know to keep steady state, we need to spend at least another $1 million a year. As we have statutory responsibility for road surfaces, but not pavements, the underinvestment in pavements throughout the authority is even more dramatic. We want to have more cycling and walking, but both of those, as well as car driving and bus operation, need suitable services. In terms of projects up till now, we struggle to have the internal resource to bid for the money on spec with no promise of success. We couldn't scale up our delivery teams without clear sight of the money and timelines for huge infrastructure projects. Now we know, if this paper passes this evening and goes through WECA's processes as well, we have the funding for the 22 to 27 funding round. Specifically, let's look at some of the things that we could then fund. Scholars Way, the brainchild of many people before us, linking schools and the uni along the south side, can be progressed. We can create a cycle route between the city centre and the Oldfields School. We can commission enhancements to the Bristol-Bath Railway path, which is currently the victim of its own success. And at Fieldings Bridge, we can provide better pedestrian cycle access and either replace the existing or create an adjacent new bridge. A much needed Silver Street Fossway walking route in Midsummer Norton will be programmed in. These are just some examples of the kind of things that we could then take forward. And there's even more good news. The DFT have confirmed there'll be other pots we can still bid on for livable neighbourhoods and active travel. And if we are successful in delivering our CRSTS programmes, or should I say, when we are successful in delivering our programmes, there will be further funding from 2027 onwards. All these schemes will be subject to the usual consultation and design periods, where we take on board all the input that we receive to ensure that what we deliver achieves the best result for our communities. This scale of investment in transport improvement across the region is unprecedented. The opportunity to transform options for travel is immense. The work to deliver these schemes will be huge, but the benefits will be felt by generations to come. It gives me so much pleasure to second this motion. I urge all my colleagues to support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rigby. Right, I'm going to move to the debate. So Councillor Wood first.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this is a real opportunity, particularly for the A37 corridor, as we need to reduce congestion on the A37. That means better public transport for the A37 corridor and for the Chew Valley. For me, personally, a park and ride at Whitchurch is a no from me. We need to get people out of their cars before they reach Whitchurch, otherwise we're not addressing congestion issues. We also need that connectivity between villages and between villages and towns and cities as well. I'd like to call for a separate walking and cycling route along the old railway line between Midsummer Norton and Bristol that would also connect Farrington Gurney, Temple Cloud, Clutton and others along the route. But we also need that connection between the A37 and Bath. So we have 3,000 people in a tight geographic area in Clutton and Temple Cloud that has no bus at all to Bath, and this needs to be put right. I welcome this paper, and it needs to include real change for the A37 corridor and for the Chew Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Councillor Samuel.
Thank you, Chair. It's very disappointing to see the Leader of the Opposition descending into the gutter. I thought that politics was reserved for his party in Westminster, but there we are. But the question I wanted to ask really before coming on to the settlement is actually what happened between 2015 and 2019 to improve services to the Chew Valley? Not very much. Who is the MP been for North East Somerset for the last 12 years? Well, I think we know the answer to that. And have we seen government investment go into North East Somerset to serve the villages? No, we haven't. So that's the context. So I think Councillor Pritchard's remarks really have to be set against the lack of progress. But what I wanted to talk about really was that this does represent a major advance for transport investment in our region. It's long overdue, that's for sure. And of course, it's less than we hoped we would get. It has been cut back. And it's very disappointing to hear the parallel announcement about Bus Back Better being hacked back by the Treasury. So I think this is great advance. I'd also like to thank Sarah Warren and Sophie Broadfield and her team for the enormous amount of work I know has gone on in a very short time on this. The point I wanted to turn to was really just about the what might seem unusual financial arrangements for this type of project. And you'll see in the report at 5.3 that we do have to provide local contributions, as do the other unitary authorities, towards this programme. This is perhaps not unusual. Government's been operating challenge funds and things of that nature for 30 years or more. But it does mean that our spending in the future on some of these areas will be directed towards this strategic transport investment. And I think that's actually quite a good thing. But I think it is important for residents to realise that effectively this money now is being earmarked. And we are assured that it won't have a dramatic impact on things we would have done. So I think that is worth drawing to everybody's attention, because it is quite an important thing within the document itself. But Chair, having said that, I really welcome this report, and I shall certainly be voting for it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Samuel. Councillor Bourne, please.
Thank you. I really welcome this significant investment. Travel and transport are problematic across Bath and North East Somerset and have been for many years. It's good to see that the funding is balanced across the authority, and that the investment in both public transport and active travel should help to reduce reliance on cars. Cars will always be needed for some journeys, but we must have more viable and affordable alternatives. The emphasis on travel to educational establishments is particularly important, because this is a significant generator of local traffic, and children who walk or cycle to school or who take the bus are much more likely to continue those healthier patterns of travel later in life. This funding starts to address some of the long-standing issues we face, but much more is required to achieve the transformation that we need. But I will be supporting this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bourne. Councillor Ball.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Very interesting debate so far. A shame the actual leader of the Conservative group sought to gutter politics, this sort of issue. And he should be ashamed of himself. I hope he apologises to the public who probably heard him tonight. I agree with Councillor Wood regarding the Park and Ride at Whitchurch. It's a long issue that developers have campaigned for to allow them to make development there. It's not correct at all, because all it does is allow traffic to build up going through the Whitchurch village into Bristol itself. So clearly that's a bad one in place. I've long played the card JLTP5 needed, and I hope this is start of that sort of route so we can get the property development in place properly and possibly updated issues that will help us know end. So I'll be supporting tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ball. I can't see any further hands. Okay, I personally will be working extremely closely with our neighbours and partners to make sure that this, life-changing sum of money is worked collectively with our neighbours, and we have a joined-up approach to sustainable transport, which is something that hasn't happened in the past. So I will be working very closely with the neighbouring leaders to assure that. And I would personally like to thank Councillor Warren and her team, Sophie Broadfield in particular, for an amazing job. They've really tackled a very difficult issue that hasn't been tackled for decades. So very well done. Congratulations. Right, we'll move to the vote, please. All in favour? I believe that is unanimous, Maria. Okay, splendid. Thank you very much. Well, that was a really productive meeting. And once again, I apologise for the appalling language used by the leader of the Conservative Party. That's really shocking behaviour from him. But I will officially call an end to